Hi there, Lisa Starr joining you with another episode of StarrCast. This week, we're going to talk to someone who is very well versed in manufacturing of equipment and well known to everyone in the spa industry. It's Jim Chenevey, the CEO of Earthlite and Living Earth Crafts. So thank you for joining us today, Jim.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. So Jim and I go months and months without seeing each other. And then we just happen to see each other, twice in a week between the We Work Well events in Spain and iSpa.
Right.
We're just back from iSpa, both of us, which was our first iSpa live in 3 years. And interest was very high. But Jim and I have had many conversations over time about his perspective, because Jim is a numbers guy and a business guy, and he came to our industry from outside. Jim, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about what your path was coming forward, starting with Harvard? I like to bring that up.
Yes, I went to Harvard. I grew up in New York. I was a good baseball player and a pretty good student, and got an opportunity to play at Harvard, and opened up a lot of doors for me. Out of school, I worked a little bit in finance, and then I played a little minor league baseball for a while. And then I went to business school. After business school, I did some management consulting, and then ultimately ended up at Callaway Golf. I worked for Ely Callaway for a number of years.
Let me ask you about that. When you did management consulting, did you work for one of the big firms, Bain, McKinsey, somebody?
I worked for McKinsey.
And then you were sort of on a project with Callaway and you got hired in. Is that how it worked?
That's exactly right.
Right. It seems to go that way, in and out,
Right. And it was great. I had a little bit of a focus on sporting goods and retail when I was at McKinsey. And Callaway was growing very rapidly and was trying to get their handle around a long-term strategy for growth. And that's how they brought me in.
Was your interest in sporting goods driven by your being an athlete?
Yes, it was both. I mean, I'm a consumer of sporting goods products, tennis, golf, basketball. And so I always had that interest, but so my focus at McKinsey was on retail. So I actually worked for some of the big department stores, and and so there was a natural connection with that. That's what brought me into this field.
So you worked at Callaway. You were a senior VP, as I understand. You were in charge of international division, right?
Yeah.
So how removed are you from the end consumer in a role like that?
Not far removed at all. I mean, if you're doing your job in consumer products, you really need to understand the consumer, and you can get some of it from focus groups and testing and, a lot of stuff that you can do analytically, but really understanding the mindset of the consumer is where great insights come in terms of new product development. So it always helps to be passionate about the space that you're in and knowing your customers.
For sure. Well said. So what happened that led you to leave Callaway and then venture into Earthlite? How did that transition happen?
It was a lot of things. At the time I was running the international division, I was traveling 2 weeks out of 4, and I had a great job. It's a pretty sexy, as far as industries go for men, golf is about as great as it gets.
Right.
So a lot of my friends couldn't understand why I would ever leave, but it was very hard on me health-wise, traveling so much, and I was away from my kids. My wife and I, we made the decision. We had 3 kids, and so we had a whole house full of young people at home, and I was gone all the time. And so I really wanted to get off the road. And I'd kind of done a lot of the things that, I felt very, very good about the impact that I had on Callaway Golf, helping them get to the next level. And, the industry as a whole was plateauing. There was a time when the USGA was kind of very anti-innovation. And it was kind of a natural exit point for me to do something else.
So that something else presented itself how?
Well, as it usually happens, it happens through people. So there was a guy that I was a buddy with at Callaway, who was a manufacturing guy who'd gone to work for this massage table company nearby. And when I was looking for, I was working with some investors looking at little companies in sporting goods or retail that we could buy and I could run something smaller. I was introduced by this gentleman to the founder of Earthlite, and that's how we met, and we struck up a rapport, and I bought a pretty significant stake in his company, and he stepped down from the leadership role.
It's funny how that works. It's all about who you know, right?
It does. A lot of times it does come down to connections, but what I want to draw is a link. I mean, I've only ever worked for companies that I believed in. They've always been leaders in the industry. I'm attracted to successful companies that have, a credo or, a vision. And, when I came into Earthlite, I knew from the moment I was there that this was the place for me, even though it was in the wellness space and it was massage tables. It was nothing like that. But I sat in the conference room at the headquarters, and the conference room was above the shipping department. And they had this loud music going on, with the thumping and this, and it sounded so energetic. And when I took the tour, I saw a lot of really happy, hardworking people. Just, it was an organization that was very passionate about what they did. And it reminded me a lot of Callaway Golf in the principles and the way it operated, its commitment to quality, and and how well the employees were taken care of.
So you must have seen something, Jim, that made you say there is a future, or there's a potential, not just to have a business run as it exists, but to grow it.
Well, I'll be honest. I came in to Earthlite, and they, Earthlite and Living Earth Crafts were together at the time, and now, but they had just merged together, and the company was in trouble, and they had problems because of the rise of the internet. They had Chinese competitors. There was a lot going on, and the company was struggling, even though it made great products. And I clearly saw that there were some things that I could do to help this company be successful long term. And I took it as a challenge. And it just felt like a godsend, because it really was only 15 minutes from my house. I was going to get off the road.
That's perfect.
And it was perfect, even though it was an industry I completely was unfamiliar with.
Well, but the underlying concepts are the same, right? And you were able to take your experience in international markets and apply it in this case. I mean, our industry has not been known for being internationally minded. A lot of small companies that operate in one country or in one jurisdiction. So, we're seeing that change now, and we'll get to that. But at the time, people didn't have a global vision.
Yeah, it was a very small industry for the longest time. It's really funny. I got in at a time that was wonderful, because I got to meet and get to know a lot of the industry pioneers that were there back when this whole industry was just tiny. And
what year was it that you bought Earthlite?
Well, I came in 2002. So 20 years ago.
Right. Wow. Those were heady times. I mean, that was a time when you could slap the word spa on anything and it did well, because everybody wanted that. And, it's continued. It's just evolved, I would say, from there.
Yeah.
So the tables, some were made in China, but they probably weren't really sold much outside the US, were they?
Well, what we originally got hit with was on the portable table side on Earthlite. A couple of Chinese manufacturers had taken our Spirit table and knocked it off and brought it over, and it was
as they do,
sold, and it was being sold on this new thing called the internet at really low prices. And from thumbnail pictures, you couldn't tell the difference between a $500 table and a $200 table or a $150 table. And so, there were real issues, and there were issues with, when people were trying to compete with Earthlite products, the dealers were discounting, trying to compete with each other and with competitors, and they weren't making any money. And, the company was struggling. On the spa side, it was really different, bigger tables. And, the industry was still growing in the spa market for treatment tables and other equipment and furnishings. So it was really on the portable side that we had the biggest threat.
So Earthlite, I'm trying to categorize these. So Earthlite sells more to individuals and massage therapists, and Living Earth Crafts more to businesses. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would characterize, we have a number of brands in our portfolio now, but the way to do it is the massage therapist and the home table market and all those sort of wellness supplies for, call it the, massage therapists and the retail market to consumers is really Earthlite. And then Earthlite sells to a number of franchises and day spas and salons. We have more affordable spa tables, right? Metal frames, etc. And then Living Earth Crafts is more custom, built to order, bespoke, really high end for the higher end resorts and spas and salons. So it's sort of, think of it like at the higher end.
And what are some of the other brands you've brought on as well, Jim?
Well, we have Continuum Pedicure. So Joe Galati's company and John Myrovich, when the guys were getting ready to retire, we bought that company from them because we think that pedicure is a great area for us in the long term for growth. And then we also have Tara Groges, Tara Spa Therapy, joined us a couple of years ago, and she is just an amazing, pioneer in our industry, with Ayurvedic products and organic body care back when organic was not even thought of. And she has a very authentic product line, and she's helping us and we're helping her kind of get to the next level in terms of those products for our therapists and for our spas.
Well, that sounds like a very smart roster of brands, especially that you have consumables now, not just equipment. I mean, equipment doesn't get purchased every week, does it?
That's right. And, you have these relationships with people but the relationship can go dormant. But if you have consumables and things, it's kind of something that keeps you connected with your customers, and you're not worried as much about the cyclicality of equipment purchases. Because people go to the spas, even through some of the worst of times, there's still a lot of demand for spas.
So you've been through at least 2 major industry downturns in your 20 years. I mean, let's talk about how, from your perspective, going to business school, being a Big 5 management consultant, I mean, how have you seen the wellness industry evolve since you came on board in 2002?
Well, there's a number of stories I could tell, but, at the highest level, what I love is that our industry is getting bigger and bigger, and massage therapy and wellness and mental wellness is all becoming very mainstream now, which is different than the cozy little industry that we were in 20 years ago, but it's great in terms of business opportunity. And if you're a true believer like I am in what we're trying to do in the world, this is amazing. It's wonderful. I'm seeing the fruition of decades of work that a lot of people have had about bringing wellness modalities to everyone, not just to, wealthy spa goers. And, Massage Envy, when they first started coming in, you remember how our industry recoiled from
we don't want that
massage and the $79 massage. But now all of a sudden you realize that, firemen and nurses and, even manufacturing workers are now getting regular massage.
It totally democratized getting massage. having those franchises.
And you know, organic products and having organic products be affordable to everybody. You know, it just goes, it's so wonderful. And I want to tell a story because
Good.
I opened up, you know, Walmart was doing business with one of the companies that was knocking off our products.
Mm-hmm.
And the new CEO at Walmart, this is more than 10 years ago, made a directive that they were going to buy more sustainable products and they're going to be all about sustainability. It didn't last very long. I think the guy got forced out, but they came to me and they said, look, we want to buy your massage tables and we think we've got a market, even though our customer skews a little bit, you know, less affluent, but our online business. And I pitched her on this thing, a home massage kit. Mm-hmm. And there was a home and family massage book that Tomas and I were sponsoring from a group up in LA about how to do massage in your families. And
Tomas being the Earthlite founder.
The Earthlite founder, the massage, you know, Tomas Nani. And so anyway, we had this packaged with this book, which was really great. And I was doing it, you know, we were practicing massage. I brought it into my family with a massage table. And, you know, I had this little training and we started massaging our kids and it was transformational for our relationship with our children. And it lasts to this day. My wife is now you know, without professional training, my kids still come home and like, Mom, can you massage my back? And,
I love it.
People out. And she has a very, very close relationship. In these days of how things have evolved within the digital world, it was amazing. So I was a big believer. I talked this woman at Walmart, the buyer, into buying like 5,000 of these things. She cut a PO for, it was a couple $100,000 for these things.
Wow.
And they were going to do it on a cyber sale. So they took in like half and half went into our warehouse. They promoted it on Black Friday, and you know that, or whatever that is, or Cyber Monday or Cyber Sunday, and it failed miserably. They sold 73 in the first hour, and somehow that was a terrible answer. So she returned all of these units. We went back and we struck a deal.
What?
Take all of this inventory back. Yeah, it was a big deal in those days because the market wasn't ready for this product.
Right.
I don't want to tell you what those numbers are now on Amazon. Let me just say that that product, the patent has expired. It's been knocked off and thousands of those are sold every year on Amazon and other places. And people are now embracing home massage and these kind of things. And it was great to see that we were just ahead of our time.
Right.
And now you see these products coming in and people embracing wellness therapies in their home. And it's just, the industry has evolved so much. And I know I digress, but.
No, that's great. I mean, to your point, the latest drama for us of COVID has really emphasized the need for wellness. Have you seen a change in your business because of that, because of consumers wanting to have more wellness in their lives?
Well, I think that they did a study during the middle of COVID when things were starting to open up. What were people going to do? And getting a massage and going to the spa was like first or second on the list. I can't remember whether leisure travel was number one and massage was number two, but it kind of pointed out how, and we're gonna have a conversation about the lack of human interaction and the lack of human touch that went from isolation and the effect on people like my mom, and like everybody and the school children being out of school and away from their friends and the impact on mental health. So I believe in the power of human touch.
For sure.
In my bones. And we know it from all the research and everything. And so I believe there's never going to be a substitute for human touch, but we're going to talk about it. So when we went into COVID, obviously all the spas locked down, right? People went home. After a few months, the spas were still shut down or they weren't really capable of opening. And we had a huge surge in PPE equipment. So we all pivoted to provide the, extra coverings and all the stuff for the sanitation procedures and
Wait, didn't you guys come up with some device to use in the?
Yes, we came up with a proning bolster that were used in hospitals
Right.
to help breathing because, for COVID patients who were getting COVID pneumonia, your oxygen absorption rates are much better when you're face down, but the cots in the hospital beds are terrible for face down. So they were losing a lot of patients just because they couldn't prone them for enough hours during the day. So we modified our pregnancy bolster to handle people being face down and comfortable 16, 18 hours a day. So
that
was a really great thing. And the pregnancy bolster actually worked really well because there are a lot of, I'm going to call them heavy patients, who were really uncomfortable lying face down, that the pregnancy bolster actually worked really well for. So we actually ended up winning an iSpot Innovate Award for that. Now we're back now to, I think a lot of those bolsters went out there. We're still selling a lot of the pregnancy bolsters, but I think we're selling them for pregnancy massage.
Yeah, instead of proning.
Yeah, but so PPE was really a big thing for a while. Then we saw our portable table business start to balloon because a lot of the therapists that were out of work and the wellness practitioners were like, I need to set up my private practice. I want to be more flexible. And so we saw a big expansion in demand for our portable equipment. So that has been great. And now with the spas opening back up, they know, the hotels and the leisure hotels are doing fantastically well. And they're getting more business than they can handle. And so, now there's been a recovery in equipment that's been very robust.
So Jim, you're in California, your one factory where you're sitting right now, in a notoriously difficult state for regulations. So how did you manage with shutdowns and COVID to keep your manufacturing lines running?
It was not easy at all. There were a lot of very protective rules in California, which was good for people. So non-essential work, we were an essential because we serve the medical community. We were able to stay open during COVID, but we spaced out all our workers. Everybody had to stay masked. Everybody had to stay 6 feet apart. The lucky thing for us is, we're in California and we have great weather, and it doesn't rain very often in California, as you know.
Yes.
And so we eat lunch outside anyway. We're pretty much able to eat lunch outside 365. So we spread everybody out. And, I think we spread our shifts for a while so that we didn't have everybody clustered on top of each other. And then we learned how to work remote in our sales and back office. And so Zoom and Teams and all that stuff really opened up new windows for us. And we had to be, because we have a lot of women in our organization in very important positions. And I empathize with all the families with young children, because managing a professional career with the kids being home and all the stuff that got dumped back on the parents to make sure the kids were doing their homework in a video world, I can't even imagine it. But we had to get very creative about our work hours and schedules, and that's kind of transformed us. So for us inside of our business, I think the biggest thing was the transformation to facilitating more flexible work schedules and a higher proportion of remote work. But for me, I'm as you know, I'm an extrovert, and I believe in human interaction, and I think that really facilitates relationships. I think it facilitates retention, which is really important in this labor market. I like to have that community, but we're flexing it with Zoom and all the things that you can do virtually. So that's been one of the transformations from COVID.
And definitely leveraging your environment. I know I toured your factory last October. Super impressive setup, the people, but you're blowing out the doors of that place. Your parking lot was like a workspace as well. So luckily you are in
a little
good
better
weather.
Now. We worked off a little bit of that inventory.
So
we got scared, Lisa. We didn't want to run out of parts
Right.
and cables, and so we were bringing in components wherever we could get them. If they would ship them to us, we'd take it. We got a lot of stuff at year end.
Well, that leads into my next question, which was about manufacturing in different countries. I mean, it's one thing to have your plant down the road from your office and you can go in and clap your workers on the back, but not the case in China for you.
Right. So we have a factory in San Diego. We've got a little factory in Illinois. We have 2 distribution centers, one in Europe where we do some assembly, and we have one in in Japan. And then we have a pretty decent sized factory in Qingdao. The factory in Qingdao mostly makes the lower end portable tables, which are the ones that we really compete. All of our competitors are Chinese. We ship those to about 100 countries around the world. In China, we've developed in the last 5 years the capability of making stationary tables, the higher end lift tables for LEC, because the Chinese market's very protected. And so we want to sell living earthcraft tables in China. We pretty much have to have a factory there. So that's been all developed. And then in California, we make the higher end portables, and we make the Earthlite and LEC stationaries. So that's what we do in Vista.
So you were able, through the pandemic, to coordinate shipment of parts and supplies to all of these different factories to keep everything running.
Yeah, it was quite a challenge, especially on the portable tables and the supplies, because freight rates went way up, and portable tables are bulky, and so shipping those tables around the world became more and more expensive. So yeah, it was a logistical challenge, but we work our way through it. Our biggest issue is on electronics. Like these days, the real hangover from COVID, it was the electronics, the silicon, the semiconductors and the silicon chips that are used in almost everything. And most of them in the world are coming out of either Taiwan or China, whether it's for Apple iPhones, or whether it's automobiles, or the lift systems and the control systems on spa tables. So we face longer lead times, delays at the ports and all that stuff, but we've been managing our way through it.
Well, I think on one hand, the larger spa clients weren't placing huge orders a year ago, and plus people are a little more understanding now about delays, I think, than they were, don't you?
Well, our lead times are pretty much back to normal on most of our products. There's a couple we've had some delays on some new products where we're ordering actuators for the first time, and whether it's Denmark or the United States or China or Taiwan or Africa or wherever, everybody has manufacturing delays.
Right.
As a matter of fact, our biggest problem is, our Danish and Swiss suppliers for actuators. We have some actuators that come from Europe for a couple of our lines. They're 9 months to a year out on new orders.
Wow.
So, we are scrambling and have had some delays on a couple of our product lines there because of this. But we have a very good purchasing department, and they placed some really big orders a long time ago. And so we're still feeding off of that, but we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, because most of that stuff is around the chipsets that they're trying to get, and people are investing in capacity, but it takes a year, 2 years before those things really come online. And there was just all this pent up demand that just overwhelmed the supply chains.
Yeah, it was quite to use an overused word, unprecedented event, but I think we all learned something, and wellness industry certainly got a lift from it in attention. And, we were all worried. I remember March of 2020 in April being on those calls with the Global Wellness Institute every week. Everybody would get on a webinar and what's happening where you are. And we all felt we might need new jobs, so flash forward, and it's been okay. We've come out of it well and surging ahead. So let's talk about the future, Jim. Big demand for wellness, the products that you manufacture across all of your brands. Do you see any potential clouds on the horizon?
Yeah, there's one big one that I know we wanted to talk about, and it has to do with labor and trained massage therapists and getting more people into our wellness, industry. We've had this problem for quite a long time. We had this structure where people were going to professional massage schools, and the peak enrollment in massage therapy schools was 2006.
Wow,
a long time ago, and it's been on a slow decline since, as for-profit colleges, which were the primary trainers of massage therapists and a lot of other fields, were under a lot of scrutiny for how much tuition they were charging, etc. And picking up the slack of that fallout of the trade colleges and who's going to do it now has been slow. And in the labor shortage coming out of COVID, we don't have enough massage therapists. And I believe fundamental in our industry in wellness is human touch and the power of human touch. And I don't think it's going away.
And plus, your tables don't massage people by themselves. So
no, and honestly, it's not the same.
No,
I have to tell you, there are a lot of great robots, and there's some really wonderful massage chairs out there that'll squeeze your calf muscles. But we all know from the scientific studies that we crave human touch, and it has a different impact on us mentally and physically and emotionally than a robot and a roller. And so we have to figure that out. And it's on the horizon. It's not even on the horizon. It's here because spas are unable to provide massage therapy services and other labor intensive treatments as they would like to, as the demand is there.
Right.
So we need to solve a lot of things on why people go into massage therapy and what are their issues and challenges with that as an industry. We need to solve those issues to make that career more attractive to people, these wellness positions more attractive to more people.
Well, 100%, Jim. And so how do we do that? I mean, what are some steps we can all take to make the industry more attractive?
Well, I'm a big believer, and I know that we have some committees working on that with the AMTA and also with ISPA. There's some committees being formed, but this is a really big problem that is not just, I think it's definitely national in scope, and it may be global, but I know it's national in scope. And there's a bunch of changes about licensing and the transfer of licensing across states, revisiting what the labor, the national testing standards should be, and trying to figure out how to more cost effectively facilitate the training of professionals in our field. And that hurdle has kept people from doing, sort of on the job training or internships or other work study type programs where people don't have to forego earning an income and pay a significant amount of tuition in order to be trained up in massage therapy. I think we need to relook at all of those things to come up with a package solution that's probably regional. I think that each region of businesses that are employing the folks need to get together and figure out how to do this together, right? So that we develop a pool of professionals that are trained in these wellness fields and can work in these professions.
It's funny what you mentioned about that movement, because I had Deirdre Strunk on the podcast last week about the compact. She's involved in the massage therapy. It's called a compact between the Council of State Governments And they recognize that there is a need for people to be able to move from state to state or region to region with the same training and licensure. The beauty of the United States is we do it all our own way. And that's also our downfall with 50 states and 50 sets of regulations. And the person across the river in another city, you can't hire them because they don't have the same requirement, don't meet the same requirement.
And our country is set up that way to, allow states to create their own business environment. And, it's, baked into the way that we're organized. And this is an area where it's creating real problems. And, the reason why I'm hopeful that there'll be a solution is because there are a large number of military spouses who get moved around as being part of the military, and they have licensing in a certain state for certain things. And because their spouse moves or, has to move for the military, they end up in a new state where they don't have licensure. And then what happens is in 2 years or 3 years, their spouse might get reassigned again. And so they're trying, at least from that military perspective, and we take very good care of our military in this country, and it's bipartisan, if I might say.
Right.
We might get some legislation that'll really help our industry because of that issue with the military.
Well, we certainly have to hope so. I mean, I think the other thing worth mentioning is that for listeners who don't know, a massage therapist does not work a 40-hour week. They can't do that physically. They usually top out around 25.
Yes.
Maybe 5 hours a day. And so you don't come out of school maybe having the skill set to make enough in that time to live. You have to have a second job until you get to where you could be at a high-end spa or charge enough money, et cetera. So there's some challenges to it. But as you said, Jim, they beat robots. I was at the Consumer Electronics Show in January, and they had this big robot, massive device with two-sided with rollers that massaged people. And I asked them how much it was. They said $300,000. And I said, well, that's a little steep for most spas, to invest in that, even though, yes, it would never call in sick and it will work forever. And they recognize the price needs to come down. But to your point, even if it does, it doesn't replace human hands.
No, it'll be priced that way too. I think there are a lot of substitutes for many things in this world, and that there'll be a place for this kind of automation. It's just not a full replacement for human touch, and it will never be. So, but there is a place for it, and there's more of a demand now because there aren't enough massage therapists. So, because of the demand for touchless treatments and low intensity of I don't know, call labor or human touch or whatever. People are trying to figure out more about unattended treatments, and touchless therapies.
So what have you done in terms of that, addressing that need? What has Living Earth Crafts or Earthlite done?
Well, it's a great question, and we're exploring and trying to come up with things that are true to our own credo. So our credo is healing humanity through human touch and serving wellness providers in that field. So that's very important to us. What is important for me is I'm trying to look at, what are treatments and therapies that are effective, that are touchless or less labor intensive. I don't want to just jump on the bandwagon and sell a lot of equipment that, on the surface is unattended, but is not really effective and people don't like it. So for us, we're filtering through all the things that aren't very, that are kind of catchy, but aren't effective, because we have long-term relationships. Our company will be 50 years old next year.
Amazing.
And it was the first spa treatment equipment company in the US in 1973.
Wow.
And our reputation and a lot of our business is from people who've been doing business with us for 40 or 50 years. And we earn that trust by providing equipment that does what it says to do and provides, I want to call it an ROI to use a business school term, but, is useful. And if we sell equipment, a lot of our customers are very trusting of us. I mean, if we want to sell a $20,000 piece of equipment that's unattended and we sell people hard on it, and they put it in their spa and it doesn't sell, it can damage our relationship in the long term. It can reverse decades of trust that have been built up, that people know us and rely on us. So we've just come out with a product. It's called the MindSync. We call it the Harmonic Sleep Lounger, and it's for two things. It's for power napping and it's for stress reduction. And it uses our zero gravity chair, which is an absolutely amazing product. Zero gravity is an incredible relaxation position. And we've married it up with acoustic resonance therapy that has been clinically proven over about 15 years with the US military. So back in Afghanistan, a lot of soldiers were coming back with PTSD, and our technology partners developed a system that helps to override your fight or flight mechanism and kind of recenter you. And it does it through a series of acoustic resonance that flows through your body, also with harmonic signals and audio waves that are sent to both sides of the brain. And it basically overrides your prefrontal cortex and recenters you down. And that therapy has been studied over a long period of time. And we've brought a program into our equipment, and we're now making that available to our customers. And there was a really great demand for it at iSpa. And so we're very pleased at how the product was received, and we're very excited about it. We also think that there's an application for the home market, and the product works.
For sure.
Therapy works. And
what's the recommended amount of time for someone to sit in the lounger and have the effect?
Well, I have a personal bias, but I believe that there are studies out there that says, sort of 20, 25 minutes is perfect for a nap. It's also perfect for the treatments, and it fits well in the spa environment. But we have programming up to an hour long on the MindSync unit. So, 30 to 60 minutes, spas can use it as an add-on to, to a 60-minute massage. So again, you extend your client's experience without adding labor to it, because this is it's very easy to use. There's 6 buttons, and you adjust the chair with 4 buttons, and so it's very easy to get somebody set up in the chair and just leave them be. So
I think it's brilliant, and I love all the attention that you got at iSpa. It's comfortable. I mean, and who doesn't want to sit down and have some stress relief? Is there anybody who's not, a candidate for that? No.
Right. And I love it because it's very complementary to human touch. I think that you combine that with a massage, with a massage treatment, and it's amazing. So we're now looking at other applications, like to put it on a full treatment table, to have it in room. And, we're kind of looking at other ways of deploying that technology. And we have other things in development as well to help spas, go through this transition and the shortage that we have right now of, skilled employees that are licensed to work in some of these modalities. So we're working our way through that as well.
Well, thank you, Jim, for everything, for joining us today, and for being a person who applies those real world lessons to our industry, and mostly for being innovative and thinking ahead about helping us keep that human touch going. Thank you so much, Jim, for joining us.
Thanks, Lisa. It's great talking to you.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.